In the last lesson, we discussed about the varying geographical habitants of Nigeria and how that affected people's occupation. In this lesson, we are going to discuss about the early centers of ancient civilization in Nigeria. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to, number one, identify the cultures by their names. Number two, you should be able to state the year Igbo culture was first found. Thirdly, you should be able to discuss the event that led to the discovery of Igbo site. And number four, you should be able to recollect the culture whose marks was used for Festival of Art and Culture 1977, Festac 77. We start with Nok culture. Nok culture is located at north central Nigeria. Nok was first found in the year 1928 by tin miners at Nok village near Kavanchan in southern Kaduna. They found terracotta heads of a monkey, that is, burnt clay. Years later, more terracotta were found in the areas like Wamba, Jema, Katsina-Ala, and Jos. Nok is seen as a transitional culture between the Stone Age and Iron Age in Nigeria. I repeat, Nok is seen as a transitional culture between the Stone Age and Iron Age in Nigeria. This is because stone and iron artifacts were found in the sites of Nok culture. Taruga, where the first terracotta figurines were found, was basically an Iron Age center. There were no stone artifacts found there. The findings in Nok showed that the people of the Nok area consumed grains mainly because of the pollen grain analysis of the sites. Nok culture was dated back to 5th and 2nd century BC, before Christ. The Nok figurines are characterized by pointed jaws. I repeat, the Nok figurines are characterized by pointed jaws. Igbo culture. Igbo is located in Agwata local government area of Anambra State. The site was first accidentally found by Mr. Isaiah Ilozie in 1939 while he was digging a pit toilet in his compound. I repeat, the site was first accidentally found by Mr. Isaiah Ilozie in 1939 while he was digging a pit toilet in his compound. As a result of this accidental finding, in 1959, that is 20 years later, Thurston Shaw, an archaeologist, carried out excavation on the site. 3 sites were excavated: a burial chamber, a pit, and lastly, under a compound wall. The findings in the site showed that there is the presence of many bronze and copper objects, including the remains of decayed skeleton that were suggested to be that of a king and his 5 slaves. The findings in the site showed that there is the presence of many bronze and copper objects, including the remains of decayed skeleton that were suggested to be that of a king and his 5 slaves. Ibuku culture is an Iron Age civilization because only bronze and copper objects were found in the site and no stone tool was found. Some of the materials found at Ibuku sites are bell, wristlets, a long pointed rod, iron blades, assorted beads, ivory tusk, decorated bronze, and ceramics objects, as well as an altar, which indicates religious worship. Others are a bronze leopard skull, set of a copper rod, a bronze hilt made up of a horse and its rider, which indicates that the people in the area used horses, and finally a crown was also found, and many other objects. The Ibuku site was dated back to the middle of 9th century AD. Ife culture. Ife culture is located in Osun State, and it is the center of the Yoruba race. The first archaeological discovery about Ife civilization was done by Frobenius in 1910 to 1914. He was a German ethnographer. Ife culture is both Iron and Stone Aged civilization, just like Nok culture. Therefore, it is also called a transitory culture. Ife culture is characterized by the production of bronze head and terracotta. Animals and human figurines were carved from granite stones, and quartz were used to carve stools. Art historians believe that Ife art originated from Nok culture because they had beaded neck, wrists, and ankles. Because they have beaded neck, beaded wrists, and beaded ankles. Archaeological evidence suggested that Ife people built mud houses with verandas, walls with ditches around them for the sake of defense. Some of the Ife artistic works could be found today in the British Museum, Ile-Ife Museum, and Lagos Museum. Benin civilization or culture. Graham Conner's archaeological discovery suggested that the Benin people came into existence before 13th century AD, around 900 AD. Benin culture is located in Edo State. Benin is a home for the Edo-speaking and non-speaking people like Urobo, Esau, Isoko, Benin, and Oria. The Benin culture is characterized by the presence of wooden, ivory, bronze, and brass objects. art historians suggested that Benin art bronze casting was introduced by an Ife artist. One of the Benin ivory mask was used as a symbol at the Festival of Art and Culture 1977, otherwise called Festac 77. Benin built outwalls guarding the city, which were about 60 to 70 feet high, and also ditches by their banks. This was for defense mechanism. Oba Ewuare, the greatest ruler of Benin, built inner city walls in about 1460 AD. Remnants of these walls are still seen at Benin today. This shows the advanced development in military knowledge of Benin people. Due to climatic conditions, the Benin wooden objects could not stand the test of time. However, the few ones that were available were looted by the British during their conquest of Benin in 1897. These objects, however, some are still kept at the British Museum, Lagos Museum, Just Museum, and Ife Museum. Evaluation. At this point, you should be able to ask yourself certain questions and provide answers to them. First, ask yourself to identify the cultures by their names as seen in the screen. Number 2, state the year Iwuku culture was first found. 3, discuss the events that led to the discovery of Iwuku site. 4, recollect the culture whose mask was used for Festival of Art and Culture 1977, otherwise called Festac 77. In conclusion, these civilizations and their artworks are named after the community that produced them, and they are a reflection of the cultural aspiration of the different communities that produce them in Nigeria.